Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 3 of the Shadows over Innistrad review. I am Step.
I'm Tams.
And we are here to... What are we here to do?
Talk about the rares and mythics.
The rares and mythics of Shadows over Innistrad.
I'm very excited.
Me too. This is not as... This won't play as crucial a role at pre-release as the other sections, but it's good to know what these rares do since you're going to come up against some of them, and if you haven't been able to read the whole set, then form your own opinions. At least you'll have someone's. So I guess we're just going to jump right in.
We will remind people that this is a limited review.
That's right. This is a review for limited play, for draft and for sealed. That's what we play.
And I'm sure that we will at times go, ooh, I'd like that for Commander, or hey, I'm going to build a deck around this. But for the most part, this is just limited.
All right. First rare is Angel of Deliverance. 6 white for a rare angel. A 6/6 with flying, and if you have Delirium, Delirium being if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, then you have Delirium. Whenever Angel of Deliverance deals damage, if you have Delirium, exile target creature an opponent controls.
Interesting.
So what do you think of this?
Well, I don't know how slow the format's going to be. That's
the question.
We've been watching a pre-release, and people seem to be getting to turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, but there's a lot of fast red.
Yeah.
So here's how I see it. Is if we are going to be in a format in which we can get relatively often to 8, this is a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to come down by the time you have 8 mana with double white, chances are pretty darn good you have Delirium. Because if you get this, you're going to make sure that you have enablers. This is going to come down and could end the game very, very quickly because you suddenly start getting rid of their stuff.
And even if you don't have Delirium, 6/6 flying is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good.
However, I honestly don't think this is an 8 mana format. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think you really have to warp your deck around trying to get there if you want to get there.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be a card that goes in any deck.
No. And that makes me sad because it's a pretty exciting card.
It's pretty exciting to me. I know I'm going to put one in a couple of different Commander decks because,
For sure.
in Commander, this is going to be great.
Yeah, and I'm going to wait a month down the line and see how things are playing out. And who knows? But for now, I don't see us eat that easily.
Aside from the rare factor, I would not pick this card highly. I probably wouldn't pick it over a 2/2 creature, just because I think that's going to be more valuable in this format.
I think in this format, my curved hoppers are going to stop around 5 or 6.
5 or maybe 6, yeah.
Not 8.
So that being said, even though it's an exciting card and I really want to play with it, I am giving this a D+.
Yep, same here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Moving right along. Archangel Avacyn. This is the exciting one. 3 white for a legendary creature, Angel, at Mythic. She's a 4/4 flyer with Vigilance and Flash. And whenever Archangel Avacyn enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Now, before we go on from there, this right here is a far more reasonable play to make. This is 5 mana instead of 8.
You had me at Flash Flying Vigilant 4/4 for 5.
Yeah, that's nuts. Gaining indestructible may or may not happen. We already saw it happen in the loading ready runs pre-release, but that was lucky.
Yeah.
If you have, I wouldn't expect your opponent to fall for it if you left mana up for their turn. What's mostly going to happen is you're going to attack, they're going to make some blocks, and then you're going to flash this in before damage.
Yeah.
Because leaving mana up while you're attacking is far less suspicious than leaving it up throughout your entire turn.
That's right.
Now, when a non-angel creature you control dies, you get to transform Archangel Avacyn at the beginning of the next upkeep.
Oh my gosh, there's more.
And she turns into Avacyn the Purifier, who is a red legendary creature
Look at that
angel.
art. That is just gorgeous.
She's a flying 6/5,
Oh,
and when she transforms, she deals 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent. So you and her are fine. Everything else takes 3. And in this format, 3 is a lot.
wow.
And she's an onboard board wipe, basically, which is going to leave you with a big, mean flyer.
Yeah.
I don't even care about the transformed side, the red side. The white side, a 4/4 flyer with flash and vigilance for 5, is already an A in my books.
I gave her an A.
I gave her an A plus with
Nice.
everything she does. This is definitely an A plus. 5 mana is a fine curve topper.
It
and
is.
She does a lot.
My only criticism, which is not a criticism, but is that it's double white. It's a double color. So
And you
need to make sure you get that second white.
You definitely get what you pay for with the double white.
Oh, you sure do.
All right, moving along. Bygone Bishop. 2 and a white for a rare Spirit Cleric. It's a 2/3 flyer, and whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, you get to investigate, and that means put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield with 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. So it allows you to draw cards on layaway. A 2/3 flyer for 3 is already pretty good.
Yeah.
The casting a creature spell with CMC 3 or less is gravy.
Yeah. And likely to happen in white. And likely to happen in white and blue, which is probably where you're putting this creature.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Bygone Bishop?
I gave him a C plus.
Okay.
A B if you were running the deck that this really belongs in. Like if this is in a low curve spirit
Okay.
deck, this is pretty darn good.
I give him a B minus all round. I think a 2/2 flyer for 3 is fine, and this is a 2/3 flyer.
That's true.
With
Lost
upside.
a lot of the flyers out there.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think this is definitely going to pull its weight in the pack. Next we have Drogskull Cavalry. 5 white for a Spirit Knight at rare. It's a 4/4 flyer. Lots of flyers in white. Everything we've had in white has been a flyer so far. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Okay, so that's neat if you're running spirits. For 3 and a white, you can put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield and gain 2 life. So what do you think of that?
I'm not excited.
Why not?
4/4 for 7.
It's a 4/4 for 7. So it's running that same line as 8 mana. It's a little too slow for this format from what we assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm-
expensive for a token. What is it, 4 mana?
4 mana, but it's repeatable.
Fair.
And it's a token that gains you 2 life. So,
Yeah, I guess that's okay, but I still gave it a C minus because I just don't think it's going to be fast.
okay, I gave it a regular old C. I think this is probably on par with a run-of-the-mill creature. The problem is the cost,
Yeah, like that's just it. I'm not going to run it because I'm not going to put a 7-drop in my deck. I doubt.
usually. Yeah.
I doubt. But we'll see. Hopefully
see.
it's... Well, we'll see.
Well, again, if you build your deck around it, you might be able to get there. And there does look to be some control in white.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
But you'll really have to know that you're going to be able to get to 7 mana. And it would stink to have him in your opening hand.
Oh, boy.
Alright, Hanweir Militia Captain is 1 and a white for a human soldier at rare. It does not have flying. It's a 2/2. So a 2/2 for 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform Hanweir Militia Captain. And she transforms into Westvale Cult Leader, a human cleric, which is Star. Westvale Cult Leader's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. And, at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. So, she starts off as a 2/2 for 2.
Mm-hmm. Which is just tickety-boo.
Which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up fine. If you have 4 or more creatures, which white is one of the colors that has token generation.
Yep.
You get a 4/4.
Yep.
Sorry, a 5... If you have 4 or more. Yes, a 4/4. She counts herself. And then, at your end step, she becomes a 5/5 and gets you another 1/1.
Yep. She's bonkers.
That seems pretty good, right?
Yeah. I really like her.
So where do you put it?
I gave her a B+.
Okay.
This is definitely something you want to build around a little bit.
Okay.
You're going to want to pick up the small humans and the token generation, but I don't think that's going to be difficult, honestly. I think she's really good.
Okay. I put her a B, a solid B. I think a 2/2 for 2 is good in any deck, and then having that upside definitely makes you lean toward a deck archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good. Not good enough to say she's going to win you games, but
no.
But she'll pull her
because
weight.
she is only a 2/2 to start with, and that is a low bum for removal. So
yeah,
but she's still pretty sweet.
All right, next up, we got there Audric, Lunarch Marshal.
My love for Audric in general.
I'm gonna pull one of him at the pre-release this weekend. I'm just letting you know.
You're totally gonna cosplay him because you can bear a striking resemblance with less white.
Well, I'm getting there. 3 and a white for a legendary creature, human soldier at rare. He's a 3/3, 3/3 for 4. That's already fine. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn, if a creature you control has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. That's a lot of different abilities that your creatures could get. Problem is, you already have to have something with an ability.
Yeah.
So, I didn't actually look through the set to see how easily those abilities just sort of fell around.
There is Skulk, there is Death Touch, there is Lifelink.
The problem is that some of those abilities are in different colors than others.
Most of them are in black or white.
Or red.
Or red?
Or green.
Yeah.
They're spread around. I mean, this will give all of your creatures any ability that any of your creatures has.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's super flavorful for a marshal, you know, a warrior leader. But it looks flashier than it is.
Yeah.
Most of the time, in limited, he's just going to be a 3/3 for 4. And that's okay. If I picked him, which I would first pick him, I would then prioritize creatures with abilities over creatures that were more efficient, and try to get that benefit out of
that
them.
synergy going on,
I think Menace, Flying, and Skulk are probably going to be the easiest abilities to get in this set. Although all of them are there.
Yeah.
So, that being said, where would you put him?
Well, first of all, I would put him as the commander of my new commander deck.
Me first.
Because, that's just great for Commander. I still gave him a B.
Okay.
But again, I would be first. We're looking at rares.
Yeah.
As a first pick, I think he's a B because he will be fairly easy to build around.
Okay.
But I think if he comes back, nobody's picked him. He comes back, pick 6 or 7.
Sorry about that.
He can be just a 3/3 for 4, which is okay. But
Okay.
I think he has the potential to be special.
As much as I love Audric, I put him at a C+.
Close enough.
I just don't think that on his own he does enough for any better rating than that. But he's definitely a build-around type of card. Our last white creature is Thalia's Lieutenant, or Lieutenant if you're Canadian. 1 and a white for a human soldier at rare. When Thalia's Lieutenant enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other human you control. And she's a 1/1. I don't know if I said that. So a 1/1 for 2. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thalia's Lieutenant. So what do we think of that?
It's definitely has only its place in a human-based deck. That said, it's pretty cool.
It's cool. She's going to make that same deck that the commander deck that Audric's going to make. But on her own, let's see. When she enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on all of your humans. When a human enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on her. So if you have humans, they get bigger. If you don't, you've just paid 2 mana for a 1/1, which is likely if she's your first creature that you cast. Then whenever you excuse me, whenever you play a human, she gets bigger. We've seen cards like this before. So it's very difficult to get this to be any bigger than, say, a 3/3 after doing some work before your opponent does something with it or trades off with it in combat or what have you. That being said, 1 power, 1 toughness is probably worth a little bit more in this set. Like we've been saying all along, there's a lot of creatures that have 1 toughness. So, I don't know. What do you think of it?
I don't know. I think this is one of those cards I'm going to need to play with to know. I'm kind of sitting around the C mark.
I have her at a C-.
I think she could have a home in Constructed. I think there could be a
Yeah.
humans only deck that she could shine
Yeah.
and do some serious stuff in. But in Limited, I don't know.
Yeah, I've got her at a C-. I think she's okay, but not great. So D+, C-.
Like, I don't think she's going to be difficult to... There's a lot of 1-drops, and some of them are humans.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility to have her on turn 2 after having dropped a human, and then to expect to have another human. So she then becomes a 2/2, and having made your other 1/2 or 1/1 a bit bigger. And seems
That'd
fine
be good.
for C.
That's the best case scenario, though, and that would be quite good.
Yeah.
So I have her at a C-. I think that's probably right for her. All right, on to the blue creatures. We've got Forgotten Creation. 3 and a blue for a zombie horror at rare. It's a 3/3, another 3/3 for 4. This one has Skulk. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. Well, that enables a whole bunch of things, doesn't it?
I really like this guy.
Yeah?
He's a 3/4 for, or a 3/3 for 4, which is good. He's got Skulk, which is cool. And then he has this ability, which is such a blue thing, later game, to Tifa the couple of lands that you have left and get some fresh cards.
Or Tifa Madness card.
Or Tifa Madness, yeah. I rather like this guy a lot.
Draw a new card.
Yeah.
He'll keep digging you through your deck.
And, I think that's what makes it for me, is the May ability.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps that you don't have to throw out your hand and worry about milling yourself out. So there's nothing but upside here.
I gave him a B.
I have him at a B minus, but I admit that I might be wrong.
All right.
Geralf's Masterpiece. 3 blue for a zombie horror at Mythic. It's a 7/7 with flying. Geralf's Masterpiece gets -1/-1 for each card in your hand. At 5 mana, I kind of want that to be the last card in my hand. It might not be, but it could be. And even if it's a 6/6 for flyer for 5, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, the ability. 3 and a blue. Discard 3 cards. Return Geralf's Masterpiece from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tapped. Tapped definitely sucks.
But it's still better than your hand.
But the fact that 3 cards is going to be your last 3 cards, so you immediately get a 7/7 for 4 mana and ditching a couple of lands and maybe getting a madness spell.
So you could do some discarding shenanigans to get him into your graveyard to start with.
That's true.
And you could cheat him onto the battlefield for 4 and getting rid of the last 3 cards in your hand.
That's true. Now, 4 isn't that much less than 5.
No,
but
it's not.
That would also ensure that he's a 7/7 flyer.
Yeah. There's some neat little shenanigans that can happen with him.
I like him quite a bit. Think I missed him. Oh no, there he is. I have him at a B minus or a B plus. I'm wondering if he isn't an A minus. I think it may be an A minus. I think this will end the game real quick.
I have him at a B.
Okay.
He takes a little bit of work on a framework that's kind of already there.
Okay.
But I still think even a 5/5 for 5 flyer is pretty great.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think
pretty good.
again, it's one of those things. The flying is what makes it for me. If it were a ground creature, it wouldn't be as impressive.
Yeah, some sort of evasion
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
All right, next thing we have Nephalia Moondrakes. 5 blue, so 7 mana for a Drake at rare. 5/5 flyer. When Nephalia Moondrakes enter the battlefield, target creature gains flying until end of turn. Okay. For 4 blue, exile Nephalia Moondrakes from your graveyard. Creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. This is another 7 mana spell. I'm probably not going to play it.
If I find out that a blue control-y kind of deck is a thing, and you can get there,
then all of these 7 and 8 drops go up.
then this will go right up, because this is some fun stuff you can do.
Oh, yeah. Even if you just put him in the deck to get him into the graveyard and then exile it to jump your team.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's not bad. That being said, I don't think I'm going to play it at 7 mana, so I gave it a C minus.
I gave it a C minus.
All right. Rattle Chains. Rattle them chains. 1 and a blue for a spirit at rare. It's a 2/1 with flash and flying. And when it enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn. That right there is enough to interest me. The next part, you may cast spirit spells as though they had flash, is nuts.
Yep.
If I pick this guy, which I would, first I'm going to pick every single spirit I see.
That is for sure.
When he enters the battlefield, he gives a spirit hexproof that can blank removal, that can, well, basically just blank removal. But being able to cast your other spirits as though they had flash is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. But even dialing it back from those two things, looking at it as a 2/1 flyer with flash for 2 in this format, with all of those little things running around, and even bigger flyers with small bums, it's just really good.
Yep. I'm not going to wait and play this guy. I'm going to play him on turn 2 on my opponent's end step and start beating. So I put him at a B+.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice. I give him a B. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Last one for blue, Thing in the Ice.
I've been waiting to talk about this card.
I'm so
my
excited
God.
about this card.
Oh
This is
my
another one of
God.
those good flavor cards for the Lovecraft mythos. 1 and a blue for a rare horror. It's an 0/4 with Defender. Thing in the Ice enters the battlefield with 4 ice counters. I'm surprised they didn't call them melting counters.
Huh.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. Then, if it has no ice counters on it, transform it.
I'm so excited. Transform it. Whoa!
Awoken Horror is a Kraken horror, and when this creature transforms into Awoken Horror, return all non-horror creatures to their owner's hands. And it is a 7/8.
I want 4 of these and all of the instants and sorceries. Oh, wait. That's a standard deck.
This is going to be the core of a new standard control deck, I'm sure.
So fun.
If there is a limited control deck, I think this is the card that's going to make it. Whereas all of the other big finishers were 6, 7, 8 mana, this is 2.
Yeah.
And you can play it on turn 2. And it can hold off all of those piddly little humans. And if you can transform it, which is going to take a little bit of work with 4 instants or sorceries, you're going to end up wiping the board and swinging in for 7, probably on 2 successive turns and winning the game.
Okay. You know me. I don't play blue. I just don't. I'm not a blue player.
But you're going to play this one?
What does it say in big...
Makes me want to play blue.
I will correct myself. I do like blue-black. I like
Okay.
Dimir, but I generally don't play blue.
Now, all that being said, it is an 0/4 to start with, and it can be killed, particularly by red and black. White has some things that can deal with it too. And cats everywhere. And if it does become awoken, and then your blue opponent bounces it, you'll have to replay it and do all of that work to transform it again. So it's not foolproof, which means it's not explosive, but I do think it's an A.
I gave it a B+.
Okay.
I
I think it...
You're going to play it in a deck that has instants and sorceries. Blue's where they sit. Pair it with red.
Yep.
And you are laughing.
Yep. Red or black.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. This is just... I just think he's really fun. The flavor and...
It's great.
Yeah. So good.
Speaking of black...
On to black.
Asylum Visitor. 1 and a black for a creature, Vampire Wizard at rare. It's a 3/1. I love 3/1s for 2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and you lose 1 life.
Seems fun.
That could get a little dangerous, but to begin with, that's not bad. What I like about that is at a 3/1, it's not going to stay around that long. It's just not.
Nope. It's a visitor.
So, play it early. You get a 3/1 and you get to start beating. Play it late, and you start to get card advantage. And it also has Madness, and Madness cost is the same as its casting cost, 1 and a black.
But that means you can cast it at instant speed.
Possibly. So if you have a way to discard a card at instant speed, you can play this creature at that time. So those are some shenanigans which might work out in your favor. I give this a B-. I like the fact that it's a 3/1 for 2, which is already, in my mind, a little better than a 2/2 for 2. But it also gives you some good late game effectiveness. Not only is it a good attacker and blocker, but it might let you draw some cards.
Yep, I gave it a B minus.
All right.
Next.
Diregraph Colossus. 2 and a black for a zombie giant at rare. It's a 2/2. That's a little funny. A giant that's no bigger than a bear. So when a Diregraph Colossus enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of zombies in your graveyard. Maybe I should just read the words instead of trying to clean up the language. Whenever you cast a zombie spell, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. So this guy gets +1/+1 counter for each zombie in your graveyard. So if he's the first zombie you've cast or milled into your graveyard, then he's just a 2/2. But if you cast a zombie, you get a free zombie.
Yup.
I like that. I like that quite a bit.
I do too.
He's another one that I would first pick and then try to pick up all the zombies I could. Because the zombies are already pretty reasonable in this set. I put him at a B minus. Because he's a 2/2 for 3. So he's not terribly exciting there if you cast him on curve. But he has better finisher potential.
Yeah. I gave him a B minus. He is a 2/2 for 3, but he is a rare, so you'd probably be picking it early.
Okay.
And you can build around it. Which isn't going to be hard.
Okay.
Next.
Elusive Tormentor. 2 black for a rare vampire wizard. It's 4/4. 4/4 for 4. That's pretty good. You can pay 1 and discard a card to transform Elusive Tormentor. And I'll mention you can do that as many times as you want in response to the trigger. So this could activate multiple madnesses by discarding the card. And when you transform it, it becomes blue. Insidious Mist is an 0/1 hexproof indestructible elemental. Insidious Mist can't block and can't be blocked. Whenever Insidious Mist attacks and isn't blocked, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, transform it. So it's sort of a weird way of giving it unblockable.
It's a weird way of saving it and then allowing you to go back to attacking later. He's going to be really hard to deal with.
I think so too. This is not only very flavorful, but it's sort of a fixed Aetherling in a way.
It's going to be really annoying.
I think so. Now it's hexproof and indestructible, which means that you can't get rid of it when it's in its mist form.
Unless you're playing that one red card.
Where they lose
if a creature,
indestructible?
Yeah.
But you already can't target it.
Because it's hexproof. They are cheeky and sneaky.
But it also can't block in that form, so it's not a fog mech.
Yeah.
Unless you do the shenanigans of blocking with it and then turning it into its mist form once it's blocked. But that's going to be an edge case.
I mean, let's face it. What's going to happen is you're probably going to attack. They're going to do some trick. You're going to flip it to save it. Then the next turn you're going to attack with the mist to transform it again.
And transform it back.
Yeah.
And get in for 4. Yeah, I like this. I like putting auras or equipment on this. I like that it's a 4/4 for 4. So I think this is probably a B+. It doesn't quite hit the A range for me because it's got a lot of expenses associated with it. But I definitely wouldn't pass this by.
Yeah, I gave it a B. I think it's pretty darn good.
All right. Next we have Markov Dread Knight. 3 black for a vampire knight at rare. It's a 3/3, so a 3/3 for 5 with flying. So a 3/3 flyer for 5. And for 2 and a black and discard a card. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So 2 and a black and discard a card. That's going to be pretty hard to get a madness trigger off of, because you're already spending 3 mana there.
Well, he costs 5 to come down originally, so the assumption is you have at least 6 mana.
At least 5 mana. Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's not likely. What I see more likely is pitching extra lands to keep ticking them up.
For sure.
And a 3/3 flyer for 5 is already pretty good.
They can get bigger?
Yeah. So where do you put him?
I put him at a C+.
I have him at a B-.
Pretty close.
All right. Mindrack Demon. 2 black for a demon at Mythic. It has flying and trample. It's a 4/5. And when it enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 4 life unless you have Delirium. So he hurts you. So what do you think?
I don't know. Because for me, the appeal of him is the 4/5 for 4.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have Delirium at 4 mana. And do I want to...
Well, you might if you put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard.
That's true, but it's still very unlikely. And is it worth flying in to get in for 4, only to be taking 4 myself?
Usually, if your opponent doesn't have anything bigger, I think it's worth it. It's got the flample, the full flample. So that's flying and trample.
Yeah.
It's going to get anything smaller out of its way and still get in for some damage. So I think that's reasonable.
But you're still taking 4 every turn.
You are. So you're going to want to put this in the Suicide Black deck at the top end.
Yeah. If I'm playing this, I'm going to be playing it later than turn 4. Chances are.
If I have this in my hand on turn 4, I'm going to play it on turn 4. And just start swinging.
Okay.
In any case, I give it a solid B.
I give it a C.
Interesting. All right. Relentless Dead. Oh. This has gotten a lot of talk.
First for the art, because... Hello.
Yeah. Black for a 2/2 at Mythic. It's a zombie. It's got Menace. 2/2 with Menace. And when Relentless Dead dies, you may pay black. If you do, return it to its owner's hand. When Relentless Dead dies, you may pay X. If you do, return another target zombie creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's interesting. This is definitely first pick material. If you do first pick it, you're going to have to know that you're all in on black. Want to get as far toward mono black as possible, because this could single-handedly run the game. If you get it out on turn 2, start swinging with it, eventually they'll be able to block it, but even so, you can just return it to your hand and recast it.
Or they don't, and they start taking 2 every single time.
It's not going to finish the game quickly, but it is going to finish the game definitively. So I give this an A-.
Oh, I give it a B+.
All right. We're on to red. Falcon Wrath Gorger. Single red for a Vampire Berserker at rare. A 2/1. Each vampire creature card you own that isn't on the battlefield has Madness. Its Madness cost is equal to its mana cost. So that's cool. Madness didn't feel to me like a vampire-specific mechanic, but this guy is saying otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of that? A 2/1 for 1.
That's pretty good. I'm happy to have that in my red aggressive deck.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And what do you think of the madness enabling?
That's interesting. That's really kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a beast in a full-on madness kind of...
In a full-on vampire deck.
Vampire deck. You don't even need a full-on madness deck. You just need the vampire stuff.
And as we've seen, a lot of the rare vampires do have discard shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the uncommons did too, for
Yeah.
that matter. So that could orchestrate a deck around itself.
Mm-hmm.
Sheerly as a 2/1 for 1, I think that's pretty efficient, and I give it an A, because I think it's going to win a lot of combats.
Really?
Yep.
Wowzers. I only gave it a C+.
Well, I guess we'll
We'll
see
find
what
out.
happens.
You're probably right.
Here we have another angel, Flame Blade Angel, 4 red for a rare angel. It's a 4/4 flyer. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, or a permanent you control, you may have Flame Blade Angel deal 1 damage to that source's controller. Now, when I first read this, I misread it. I thought it was just the a more expensive Thunderbreak Regent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever a source deals damage to it.
Yeah.
This is quite a bit better than I first thought.
Yeah.
A 4/4 flyer for 6 is okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's still pretty good. And then anytime anything damages you or any of your permanents, it deals 1 damage to your opponent.
Yep.
That's real good.
Seems really good.
I'm going to give this another A+.
Wow. I did not.
No?
No, I gave it a B.
A B? Why do you think only a B?
Because it's 6 mana.
Okay.
It's probably going in a red aggressive deck. I don't know that you're ever going to get to 6 mana. So, but if
I don't
you do,
see this going in the aggressive deck, though. I see this going in the red-green mid-range deck.
Yeah, probably. Still, 6 is on that cusp for me of... I mean, we'll see.
You know what? Fair enough. I'll come down to an A.
It may come out that 6 is simple, is really easy, and there's enough control and so on and so forth. But we'll see.
I guess we will.
I'm hoping because, make it more interesting.
Gyre Reach Bandit. 2 and a red for a human rogue werewolf at rare. It's a 3/2 for 3. There's a lot of those in this set. With haste, so hey, that's a good thing.
I like haste.
And then the werewolf ability. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform it.
Okay.
And it transforms into Vilden Pack Alpha, who is a rare werewolf, a 4/3. Whenever a werewolf enters the battlefield under your control, you may transform it. Wow.
That's amazing.
I don't see any reason you wouldn't want to.
No, I don't think so either, but...
It's nice to have the option.
Yeah.
So your werewolves automatically come down on their transformed, more powerful side.
Yup.
That is disgusting. Alright, so a 3/2 for 3 with haste is already pretty good.
It's really good.
If it transforms, it's pretty bonkers. At 3 toughness, there's not a lot that can deal with that. If you want to keep it back and just keep dropping your werewolves. The question is, how many more werewolves are you going to be able to get? And I don't know how to answer that question yet.
Well, you already know the grand total of werewolves in each color. Didn't you say there were 12 in each? 12 in red and 12 in green or something like that?
6 in red and 6 in green, but that doesn't mean how many of them they're going to be in at the drafting table.
No, I know, but that will give you some idea of...
There's going to be 1 double-faced card in each pack.
But that's not
and not all of them are werewolves.
So I was going to say, it's not necessarily a werewolf, right?
Still, a 3/2 haste for 3 is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to give Gyre Reach Bandit an A-.
Cats everywhere, cats. I gave him a B.
Okay.
Well, I started off and I gave him a C+. Just looking at the haste and his original ability.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be fairly easy for you to pick up at least a couple of werewolves, I would think. So yeah, I think a B.
Okay.
I think he could be pretty nifty.
On to another angel. 2 red for a Gold Knight Castigator at Mythic. It's a 4/9 with flying and haste. If a source would deal damage to you, it deals double that damage to you instead. If a source would deal damage to Gold Knight Castigator, it deals double that damage to Gold Knight Castigator instead. I don't like this card at all.
I had no idea what to do with this card because, of course, I'm a really positive person, so I try to look for all the cool, neat ways you can exploit this kind of thing. I just don't know what to do with it. You know what it is to me? Do you remember that card back in Theros that so many people misread? And it was like, if a source would deal damage, it does double the damage, but it was on both sides of the field.
Oh, the Twin Gods.
Yeah, Dictated the Twin Gods?
Dictated the Twin Gods, yeah.
This, to me, is similar but worse.
So here's where I see the 4/9, because it's a big number, but it's really not. It's actually more of a 4/5, because it takes double the damage.
Yeah.
So it's a 4/5 flyer with haste for 4. That's pretty good. But it also doubles the damage that you take.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be very careful about what you're playing against.
So this feels very Winmore-ish.
Kinda. Now, 4 power haste in the air is pretty good.
If you have something that you can sack a creature, especially at instant speed, this
You mean to keep from taking double damage in case they tap out for combat tricks or whatever?
Yeah.
That would help.
This gets better. But I think this is going to need some serious building around and playing around with to make it work.
I think I'm going to first pick it, I'm going to play with it, but I'm going to side it out if I'm playing against red.
Yeah.
I'm going to straight side it out of my deck if
because
I'm looking at burn.
Dome you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a straight B because it is efficient, it is flashy, and it does look fun. But the downside is real.
Yeah. I gave it a C. And even that doesn't feel right. This is one of those things that I just honestly don't know how to grade.
Okay.
Until we actually try it in context with the other cards in the set.
Okay.
So,
But
play at your own risk.
Think of it as a 4/5 flyer with haste.
But it's not even that, though. Because if you swing in with that, and they manage to swing back and drop a trample spell on their team, you're suddenly getting your face chewed off.
On the better part of their... Yeah.
Twice through. So I just don't know. Play at your own risk.
Scourge Wolf.
Scourge Wolf.
This is a pretty gnarly looking wolf. Red for a wolf horror at rare. It's a 2/2 with first strike. So a 2/2 for 2 with first strike is pretty good. If you have Delirium, it has double strike.
I like this guy.
So
I think he's pretty good.
If you have Delirium, he's basically a 4/2.
Yeah, for 2. Although later on, it's going to be later that you get Delirium.
Probably.
I still think a 2/2 for 2 with first strike is really strong.
Yep.
Because for the first handful of turns, there's nothing they're going to be able to do about that. So
I'm going to give him a C+.
I gave him a C+.
Yeah. It's not terribly exciting, but they're definitely good things you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Sin Prodder is next. I liked the way Cam put it. He bobs wrong.
He bobs wrong?
2 and a red for a devil at rare. It's a 3/2 with menace.
I like menace.
At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. Any opponent may put it into your graveyard. May have you put it into your graveyard. If that player does, Sin Prodder deals damage to that player equal to that card's converted mana cost. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. So,
oh, I like him.
It's a, can I have an extra card? Or are you going to take damage? I like it a lot.
I like it too.
I love the flavor too. I love the way the art looks.
Yeah.
I think he's going to find his way into numerous commander decks.
Yeah.
What do you think of him in the context of limited?
I gave him a C+. I think he's super fun. I think as far as risk to you, there's not much risk to you.
There's no risk to you. I give him a B+.
He also has Menace, which is just awesome.
Yeah. What was it from Origins? The 3/2 with Menace for 3. The Boggart Brute?
Yeah.
Was a heavy player in that set.
Mm-hmm.
And then having a reverse Bob effect is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I give him a B+. I think he's hyper efficient.
He's pretty cool.
Wolf of Devil's Breach is our last red mythic. 3 red for an elemental wolf who's a 5/5. So a 5/5 for 5.
Sure.
That's great. Whenever Wolf of Devil's Breach attacks, you may pay 1 and a red and discard a card. If you do, Wolf of Devil's Breach deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost. May, again, is important.
Yep.
So at worst, it's a 5/5 for 5.
Which is perfectly fine.
Just fine. If you want to discard some extra cards and deal some direct damage to creatures or planeswalkers, if you're up against a planeswalker, I think I definitely want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gravy.
Yeah.
So
it's a cool way to take that. I mean, if you're behind,
mm-hmm.
to take that 6-drop that you have sitting in your hand that you just can't cast and get rid of that giant threat on the other side of the field that's been driving you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a little time.
It won't hit the player, so
No.
you're not going to kill your opponent.
No,
with this.
but it can take care of their creatures and planeswalkers, which is pretty sweet.
But if you are taking out your opponent's biggest creature, then the wolf is probably going to kill them itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll clear the board, clear the way for you, even before when it attacks. Yeah, even before it deals damage.
Mm-hmm.
So even before they get to declare blocks. That said, I gave this an A-.
I gave it a B.
Okay. On to green.
On to green. Ooh.
Deathcap Cultivator.
He looks like somebody from The Walking Dead.
1 in the green for a human druid. Ain't no zombie.
Nope.
At rare, it's a 2/1. Another 2/1 for 2. Tap to add black or green to your mana pool. If you have Delirium, he has Death Touch.
Yep.
So I like this a lot. I like this a lot because on turn 2, you drop him and he starts ramping you. On turn 8, you drop him and maybe he has Death Touch and maybe he does a little more work.
Mm-hmm.
Green is the color I think that's going to be easiest to get to that 7 and 8 mana in.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of ramp in there.
Because there's a little bit of ramp. So we'll see about that as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
But where would you put this guy?
I gave him a C+.
Okay.
I think he's pretty cool. Yeah.
I give him a B- because, again, he's got that early game and that late game.
That's something we're seeing.
Yeah.
We've mentioned this before. In a lot of the colors, they're giving some utility to the smaller creatures, which I find really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Inexorable Blob is next.
That's a blobby thing.
2 and a green for a 3/3. So a 3/3 for 3.
I like it.
Ooze at rare. If you have Delirium, whenever it attacks, you put a 3/3 green ooze onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So yeah.
He's the thing.
A 3/3 for 3 is fine.
Yeah.
And this is going to make me want to get Delirium.
Yeah.
So I gave him a solid B.
I gave him a B.
He's going to pull me right into green.
Yeah.
Nothing really more to say about it. Sage of Ancient Lore.
Ooh, that's nice art.
4 and a red for a human shaman werewolf at rare. He's a star. Sage of Ancient Lore's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. Okay. When Sage of the Ancient Lore enters the battlefield, draw a card. Well, that's helpful. So he's at least going to be a 1/1. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast, transform him. So what do you think of that?
If you didn't have to transform him, I would hate him. I would not want to play him at all.
No.
So
Because
transform him and change
he's going to be a 1/1 or a 2/2 or
For
maybe
5.
a 3/3 for 5.
which is lame.
So Werewolf of Ancient Hunger is a rare werewolf who's a star with Vigilance and Trample. Werewolf of Ancient Hunger's power and toughness are each equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands.
I still don't like him.
You still don't like him?
Nope.
Me either. It helps a little that he counts your opponent's hand at this point, but big deal. He's still only going to be maybe a 4/4 or a 5/5 for 5 with Vigilance and Trample. And
But then you're not casting anything.
exactly. Then you're not casting anything. So
I don't like him at all.
I gave him a D.
Yeah, I'd give him a D-. I'd give him an F. Let's be fair. I'm not going to play
You're
him.
going to give him an F? Okay.
I'm not playing him. I'm sure he's going to have a home
In
a
constructed?
no, not even constructed. In Commander, with you have no maximum hand size. Some deck that's going digging all the time. Maybe some sort of blue-green thing.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I don't like this guy at all.
All right, fair enough.
I'm sure he'll get me at some point, and I'll be like, damn it.
I think it's more likely that the other werewolves will get you.
Probably. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take the F back, and I'm going to give him a D.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
Simply because even just being on the battlefield as a 1/1, if you have all of those werewolf shenanigans, he could be better. So I'll give him a D. I'll give him a D.
Well, I'm not
I'm
budging
still-
from my D.
I'm not okay. Well, that's fair. I'm still not playing him, but you know.
Silver Fur Partisan is next. 2 and a green for a Wolf Warrior at rare. He's a 2/2 with Trample. That's weird. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control becomes the target of an instant or sorcery spell, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield.
Whoa.
That's still weird. Okay. You're probably going to have to craft a deck here.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It's trying to protect your, or give you, no, not even. Huh. It's really giving your opponent less, or at least pause, in casting spells. I don't know.
Guess. He's supposed to work with combat tricks. I mean, a 2/2 with Trample is meant to be buffed, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still only running 3, maybe 4 combat tricks in my entire deck.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He could get out of hand, but I just don't see it. I'm going to give him a C-.
Yeah. It also affects if somebody, like, tries to use an instant or sorcery against one of your wolves
As a
to kill
removal?
them.
Yeah.
Then you get another 2/2. Yeah.
Which is nice, but
Yeah, I'm not that excited about him either.
Yeah. So where do you put him?
C-.
Okay. Soul Swallower. Here's a nasty looking worm. 2 green for a rare worm. He's a 3/3 with trample for 4. Okay. So he's got delirium. If you've got delirium, at the beginning of your upkeep, put 3 +1/+1 counters on him.
Ugh.
That's nice. I still don't know how easy delirium is going to be to get.
Yeah.
And whether or not I want this guy with the double green is going to depend specifically on whether I think I'm going to be able to get delirium.
Yeah.
He could be insane. He could be mediocre.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give him a B- and hedge my bets.
I gave him a C+ and hedged my bets.
Okay. Tireless Tracker is next. 2 and a green for a human scout at rare.
Look at that hat.
It's another 3/2 for 3.
Sweet.
Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. Neat.
Sweet.
Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker.
Boy, that's a neat and tidy little thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like him. So he kind of has landfall.
Yeah, kind of. When a land enters the battlefield under your control. So that's not going to take that much to do.
Not from turn 3 on.
Not from turn 3, yeah. That being said, it's not terribly impressive as an ability. So it's basically just a 3/2 for 3.
I think he's going to wind up being a 5/4 or so. Because you're going to have, hopefully, you want your deck
A couple
curving
of
out.
lands, a couple of clues.
You're going to do... Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So where do you put him?
I give him a C+.
Wow. You seem more impressed, but I give him a B+.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You seemed far less impressed.
I like the efficiency.
Fair enough.
I like that I don't have to do much to get the ability.
Yeah, that's true. Just drop a land.
Yeah.
He's pretty sweet.
Our last green rare is a mythic. It's Ulvenwald Hydra. 4 green for a Hydra. It's a star with reach. Ulvenwald Hydra's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control.
Okay.
So he's going to be at least a 6/6. Probably.
Seems sweet.
At least a 4/4. Probably a 5/5. Probably a 6/6. When Ulvenwald Hydra enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library.
He comes with another +1.
Yeah. So at 6 mana, I don't know why you need the ramp, but maybe you do. I don't know.
No, I think you just need the extra +1, and suddenly you have a 7/7.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I like
Yeah,
it fine.
I like him.
He's got reach, which is great because there's a lot of big flyers in this set. It's a little late to take care of something like Avacyn, but whatever. I give him an A-.
I give him a B+.
Okay.
He would pull me into green.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Because I like him.
All right. So that's green. We're on to the multicolored cards.
Multicolors. Oh boy, this is where it gets fun.
Altered Ego.
Alright, let me know.
X, 2, green, blue, shapeshifter, rare, 0/0. 0/0? What does 0/0 usually mean?
0/0 means that he's dead.
So this is probably going to be a clone. Altered Ego can't be countered.
Sweet.
So that's pretty cool. You may have Altered Ego enter the battlefield as, a copy of any target creature on the battlefield, except it enters with X additional +1/+1 counters on it.
Ooh.
So this is the second time we've seen the X that does absolutely nothing, but put counters on it.
That's kind of cool.
It can't be countered, so that's nice. But it does target, so it can't hit any of those hexproof or shroud. Shroud doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Hexproof creatures.
Yeah, there's not a ton of those flying around, though, so that's kind of cool.
good way to get a copy of an opponent's bomb, and I like that it scales, but it's still a little on the expensive side. So, well, okay, let's try this. Archangel Avacyn is a 5-drop.
Mm-hmm.
If you drop this as a 5-drop, not only can't it be countered, but it's one bigger than your opponent's.
Yep.
That's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I gave him a B.
You gave him a B? I give him a B.
Because I think I really like clone effects. I do, as much as I'm like, I don't like blue, I did spend a lot of time in my early Magic days playing Simic. And blue-green has a special place in my heart.
Oh, it's interesting because blue-green isn't one of the archetypes in the set.
So I think if I got this card, would probably be the only time I would be going into blue-green.
I can see blue-green being either a Delirium deck or like sort of a value deck. And this is hedging more toward the value sort of
I think this would be really fun to play with.
Okay.
If I get it, I'm going to definitely try it and see how it goes.
Okay. The Gitarog monster.
Oh.
This is another one that's not one of the archetypes, but...
no, it's in Golgari, which is kind of exciting.
3 black-green for a legendary creature, Frog Horror, at Mythic. It's a 6/6 for 5, with Death Touch.
Yes, please.
You sign me up.
Sign me up.
At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitarog monster unless you sacrifice a land.
Well, that makes me sad.
You may play an additional land on each of your turns.
Cool.
Neat. Whenever one or more land cards is put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. So you have to sack that land, but it draws you a card.
Yep. There is also certain, now I don't remember what color it is, but there are a few things in here, at least one, that allows you to retrieve land from your graveyard. So this could be a fun build around me thing.
This is the one that I'm most excited to try, to be honest.
Give a whir?
I think this is going to be really interesting. And a 6/6 with Death Touch is very difficult to block.
Yeah.
Need something to give it trample.
That'd be amazing.
I give the Gitarog monster an A-. I think he's going to end the game real quick.
I give him a B.
A B? All right.
A B.
Olivia, mobilized for war. 1 black-red for a legendary creature, Vampire Knight, at Mythic. She's a 3/3 flyer for 3.
Sweet.
Sign me up. She's got more. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. It gains haste until end of turn, and it becomes a vampire in addition to its other types.
Oh, gosh.
There's a lot going on there. Not only does she help the other creatures that care about vampires, because she can make things vampires, she gives your new creatures haste and makes them bigger than they would have been otherwise. Plus, she's just a 3/3 flyer on her own.
She's amazing.
This is another A+.
I gave her a strong A.
Okay. And I really want to play her.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Next we have Prized Amalgam. 1 blue-black for a rare zombie. 3/3. Another 3/3 for 3.
Sweet.
Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard, or you cast it from your graveyard... Interesting. So, if you cast an instant or sorcery spell, for instance, from your graveyard... Yeah, if you made a token out of the graveyard. Return Prized Amalgam from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped at the beginning of the next end step. So, the flavor here is what? You dig something out of the graveyard and it shambles along with it? Yeah. Whatever. It's a 3/3 for 3. I'm fine with that.
Me too. It's not as exciting as that as Olivia, but it's fine.
I'd give it a B-.
Yeah, I gave it a C+.
All right.
Boy, we're not agreeing at all this time. We're close enough.
Last of our rare creatures. Oh no, second last of our rare creatures.
No, we still have one more.
Is Sigarda, Heron's Grace. 3 green-white for a legendary creature, Angel, at Mythic. She's a 4/5 for 5
That's
with
great.
flying. You and humans you control have hexproof.
That's sad for the other guy.
You can pay 2 and exile a card from your graveyard to put a 1/1 white human soldier token onto the battlefield,
Oh boy.
which is then hexproof.
Oh boy.
That's interesting. What do you think?
She's kind of a bomb.
You think she's a bomb?
Yeah, I think so.
She's definitely gonna do work in the humans deck.
Yeah.
I see a Naya humans deck being really good.
Because all that your opponents are going to be able to do is to block. That's the only way they're getting rid of your stuff. Because they're not going to be using their removal spells.
Well, they can take her out. She's an angel.
That's true. But she also is a 4/5.
Yeah.
So she's going to be really hard to deal with. But let's look at her base. She's a 4/5 flyer for 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yep.
That's perfectly acceptable. That's great. The hexproof is sweet. Nice little cherry on the cake.
I like her a lot better than Gold Knight Castigator, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the ability to exile a card out of your graveyard and turn it into a creature.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Especially in the deck that you know darn well that she's going to be. You're going to get her and you're going to build that human deck around her.
Okay, so where do you put her?
I put her at a B+.
B+?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll go along with that. I'll put her at a B+. Our last creature is a land.
A land? A land, you
I
say?
decided not to put this with the other lands.
All right.
Westvale Abbey is a land. It taps for colorless. It doesn't enter tapped, which is fine. You can tap 5, tap it, and pay 1 life to put a white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. So, pay a life, get a human. Pay 5 mana, pay a life, get a human. That's a little expensive. But if you pay a life, tap it, and sacrifice 5 creatures, you get to transform it. Then untap it.
And what does it transform into? Better be something amazing.
Well, it's a 9/7 with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste.
Damn. Okay, go back. You can sack any 5 creatures. You don't have to. You can
That's right.
completely disregard that second chunk of text.
That's right.
So you can sack 5 little human tokens, spirit tokens, pay 5. You don't even have to lose any life.
You have to use something to get them onto the battlefield, though. You're definitely giving up something when you're giving up 5 creatures.
True, but if you have a bunch of little tokens running around, by, towards the end of game, I'm going to sack my 5 little spirit tokens or whatever tokens to flip that sucker.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this.
Buy me a puppy?
No. I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to try to pick up, what is it, that thing that makes the devils.
Oh, the red.
The 4 devil tokens.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to sack the 4 devil tokens and some other creature to this guy and deal 4 damage to my opponent.
Yeah, that seems even better. That's Magical Christmas Land.
That is Magical Christmas
I
Land.
still think this is a really cool thing to have. Because even putting it down, you're not losing that much by having it on the battlefield as a mana source.
No, that's a good point. It doesn't come in tapped. It does affect your color balance, but not by that much.
And we're really only probably going to be running 2 colors,
2 colors
anyway.
So there's no reason not to take it. unless you're heavily double in 2 colors. And then having the possibility of getting this creature, I'd probably lean heavily toward getting token producers.
Absolutely.
If I took him.
Yeah.
So where do you put it?
I think this is another one of those things that's hard to actually give it a grade because I think it's fantastic. If you can find a way, and it's not that hard to find a way, if you're getting this pack 1 and you pick it, you're going to just pick up all of the tokeny stuff. Or the small creatures, small cheap creatures. Because really all you have to do is sack 5 creatures. So turn 6, you could have this flipped up if you hit a curve and you drop a creature every turn.
That's going to be tricky.
Sure it is, but you can.
Okay.
I've had games where I'm dropping a creature every turn. Or dropping something that brings a buddy.
And then not trading anything off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. It depends what you're playing. But regardless, even turn 6, turn 7, you suddenly flip up a 9/7 flyer with lifelink.
Because it's got such a low setup cost, or a low opportunity cost, I'd say, to put it in your deck. Even with the high setup cost, I'm going to give it a B+.
Yeah.
It's not quite bomby. I mean, it definitely is if you flip it. Or if you transform it.
Yeah.
But it's not quite easy enough to do to go into the A range for me.
Well, what I think is kind of neat, too, is that while it's on the field unflipped, there's virtually nothing your opponent can do about you having that card on the field.
Sideboard in Magmatic Chasm.
Sure. And then when you flip it, it's indestructible.
Yeah. And has haste.
And has haste, and lifelink,
flying.
and
So
flying.
It's going to win the game real fast.
I definitely want to draft this, because I want to try it and see what hijinks ensue.
Alright, you've convinced me. I'm going to put it at an A.
My work here is done. I will take my C- and leave. No, I'm just kidding. It's definitely an A.
Okay.
B plus A. Yeah.
Alright, and that's it for the creatures. So
Sweet.
I guess we're going to move on to the...
Next part.
Sorceries?
Yeah.
Sorceries. Alright, we start the sorceries with Declaration in Stone. It's 1 and a white for a rare. Exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. So the all other creatures with the same name probably isn't going to matter much for non-token creatures. On the other hand, that player investigates for each non-token creature doesn't affect you taking out their army of little spirits.
Yeah.
So in limited, this is going to be either exile target creature and your opponent gets a clue token, or exile target army of tokens and they get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of that?
I think it's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good. As far as removal goes, I think it's darn good.
Yeah, I will trade off, let them have a token. Or even 2, if by chance they happen to have 2 of the same creature in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, in exchange for getting rid of something you really don't want on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to give this, call this A+ removal.
In limited? Yeah, I think this is pretty much as good as it gets.
Yeah.
The exile is pretty sweet, too.
Yeah. Next we have Descent Upon the Sinful, 4 white for a mythic. Exile all creatures. And if you have Delirium, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So again, this is pretty good removal. This is our board wipe.
Yeah.
At 6 mana, it's a little more expensive than we usually like our board wipes to be. But maybe not. Maybe this will be the end game for that control deck. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm meh about it. Simply because you get 1 4/4 creature.
And only if you have Delirium.
And only if you have Delirium. Otherwise, you're wiping both sides of the board. Do you run a board wipe in a deck that you hope is winning anyway? I guess you can sideboard it in.
Well, you run a board wipe in a classic control deck where you're running defenders up till this point anyway, or
yeah, I guess so. That's true.
But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's still very powerful. Yeah. And a 4/4 Angel will close out the game pretty quickly if your opponent doesn't have any cards in hand. Like if you're both top decking and this is your last card.
And if you're looking for a board wipe, this is okay. At least it gives you something at the end of the day if you have Delirium.
But I don't think it's a bomb, so
no, I think so.
I put it at a B+. Oh. It's still pretty good.
I put it at a C. I'm not crazy about board wipes.
Okay, fair enough.
Again, it's probably just my lack of experience in controlling
board decks. Wipes aren't as good as people tend to think of them as. In Constructed, this is going to be a thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Next, we're on to the blue sorceries. We've got 2 blue for a Mythic. Startled Awake. Target opponent puts the top 13 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. And then for 3 blue, put Startled Awake from your graveyard onto the battlefield, transformed. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
And what does it...
Well, first, what do you think of...
So there's the card that we were talking about that if you happen to open it, pack one, pick one, and you want to jump on that mill train, you need a certain card to do it.
Milling your opponent in a graveyard set is bad.
Really bad.
But 13 is a lot of their library. So
what does it transform open to? Let's have a look.
Okay, so for 5 mana, once it's in your graveyard, you can turn it into a Persistent Nightmare. It's a creature, a 1/1 creature, Nightmare with Skulk. And when it deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand. So the thing is, it's trying to do is get you to be able to use it again.
To mill out your opponent, yeah.
If you can make that work, that's going to be 26 cards or most of their library.
Yeah. And if you have those other couple of things that allow you to mill your opponent, it could be a viable strategy.
This could be a viable strategy. It's going to be hinky as all get out.
You want to try it, don't you?
I do. I really want to try it. That being said, I'm giving it a D-.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
It's a 1/1 with Skulk. If it were a 1/2 with Skulk, I think this could be a bomb.
But you only get to do damage once before it gets tossed back to your hand.
Yes, but it also gets blocked by anything with 1 power.
Fair enough.
And dies. Now, you can then pay another 5 mana to put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard. But then you've spent 10, 14 mana on this thing and still haven't seen that much of a payoff.
Sure. I don't think
And if they can block it once, they can probably block it again.
Fair enough.
Right?
Read me Skulk's... What is Skulk's thing?
It can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So a wall will shut this down.
Yeah, but not much else. The 1/1 token.
A 1/3 will shut this down.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it, I'm going to play it, I'm going to side it out if I have any trouble.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm never playing this card.
Okay.
I hate mill. But
so
I'm just trying to figure it. I gave it a D-.
Okay. Alright, moving on.
I do find it really interesting, though.
Welcome to the fold. Isn't that nice? 2 blue for a rare. It's got Madness of X blue. So if you discard it, you can pay X instead of 2. Gain control of target creature if its toughness is 2 or less. If Welcome to the Fold's Madness cost was paid, instead gain control of target creature with toughness X or less.
I like this a lot better. Because you gain control. It's not till end of turn. you've got it. It's yours.
Yeah, this is the mind control set. Welcome to the fold. Welcome to the cult.
We're
you're
so
awesome.
friendly. Here's our outstretched arms. We will hug you.
So 4 mana for a mind control is about the going rate. Toughness 2 or less doesn't seem like a lot, but as we've seen in this set, there are a lot of things.
There are a lot of bears out there that
There are
are
a lot of good bears out there.
bombs.
A lot of good 3/2s out there.
Yeah.
Now, paying 4 mana for a 3/2 may not be where you want to be, but then again, this has madness. So if you manage to discard it and spend 5 or 6 mana on it, you could get yourself an X3 or an X4. And there are a lot of those out there that are downright bombs.
Yeah.
It's a little expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. I still only give it a C-. I think an efficient creature is going to do better work in your deck.
I gave it a C+.
Okay.
Only because I'm hopeful. Now, it probably is more likely a C. It is at sorcery speed.
Unless you madness it.
Unless you madness it. Fair enough, and that's what I would be wanting to do.
If you can madness it, let's say before declaring blockers, that could be pretty strong.
Well, sure, you're stealing that creature and either...
Also, I've been talking about paying more for it, but if you madness it, you could pay blue, blue, and 1 and steal one of those 2 ones or 3 ones.
For sure.
So...
It's pretty cool.
It's got potential. Maybe I'm with you.
Okay.
C+?
Sure.
Alright. Behold the Beyond. 5 black for a mythic. Discard your hand. Search your library for 3 cards and put those cards into your hand. Then shuffle your library. The gorgeous art on this card aside, I think this is an F.
I want it to be good. I don't want it to be 7 mana. Because it's basically... What? It's a tutor for 3 cards.
It's a 3-card tutor. That's right.
But for 7, I just don't know that we can get there. I don't think we can do it.
Now...
I'm not giving it an F.
It says discard your hand, and at 7 mana you probably don't have a hand.
Yep.
So that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to play a 7 mana spell, it's going to be that angel, not this thing.
Fair enough. I can't give it an F, though. I just can't. I'll give it a D-.
Okay. Fair enough. Ever After. Oh, isn't that sweet? 4 black for a rare. Return up to 2 target cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Each of those creatures... So, creature cards. Each of those creatures is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Put Ever After on the bottom of its owner's library. So this will not add to your delirium count, because it's going on the bottom of your library.
Yep.
You get 2 creatures, up to 2 creatures, returned directly to the battlefield.
No CMC codicil in there. It's anything you want.
If I have another bomb, I am putting this in my deck.
Yep.
If I don't have any bombs, then I'm going to probably still put this in my deck.
Especially if I'm trying to build a zombie deck and I'm a few short of a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be able to pull back 2 of your guys that aren't and make them such.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting.
So where do you rate it?
It's a good question. Let me look in my book and find where I have it. I gave it a B.
I have it at a B-, but that's, B-, whatever. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to do enough.
It's accosted right where you are going to be in the game, probably to want to grab 2 things from your graveyard.
Yeah, at 6 mana on turn 6 or 7,
yeah,
you're going to
want to
grab
refill
your best 2 things,
yeah,
put them right onto the field.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Right. From Under the Floorboards, 3 black for a rare. It also has madness. We'll get to that. Put 3 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped, and you gain 3 life. If From Under the Floorboards madness cost was paid, which is X black, Instead, put X of those tokens onto the battlefield tapped, and you gain X life. So, X can be 1, X can be 2, X can be 3, which is the same as its casting cost, but it makes it an instant. X can be 4, 5, 6, whatever you like. But those creatures are all coming in tapped. What do we think of that?
I would prefer them to be instant, but I think if they were instant, it might be out of control.
It would be a blowout kind of...
Yeah, I still think this is pretty strong.
I think this is pretty strong too. I think as a sorcery, 3 black, put 3 tokens on and gain 3 life. It's very strong. It's well costed. With the madness of let's say 3, get 1, 2, 2, and gain 1 life. That's still reasonable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say X is, I don't know, 4. You're paying 6 for it. You get 4 2/2s and 4 life. That's really good.
That's really good. I like that it scales. It does what you can afford or what you kind of want.
Mm-hmm. So if you're forced to discard a card, at least maybe you can get a 2/2 out of it.
Mm-hmm. And the thing with it is, yes, it's sorcery speed, but if you're choosing to do the madness, if you can do the madness, you can do it at the end of their turn.
Mm-hmm.
So.
If you're choosing to do that. So they come in tapped, but at the end of their turn, that's not going to matter. So that's pretty sweet.
Exactly.
If they didn't come in tapped, I think this would be a really good card. As it stands, I'm only giving it a C+.
I gave it a B.
You gave it a B?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fairly close.
Ooh, I've got a mouse. Avacyn's Judgment. 1 and a red for a rare. This also has madness. X and a red. Avacyn's Judgment deals 2 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. If Avacyn's Judgment's madness cost was paid, it deals X damage divided as you choose. So it's a shock, 2 damage for 2 mana, or... Sorry, shock is 1. It's a 2 mana shock, or it's a fireball.
Yeah. Again, sorcery speed.
Sorcery speed.
Unless you're paying the madness.
I think even as a sorcery, 2 damage divided as you would choose is really good when there are so many X1s and X2s.
Absolutely. I was stating the only downside I could see about the whole darn
Is it a
thing.
sorcery? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's only a sorcery if you can't pay its madness.
Okay.
I think this is really good removal in this set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, really good.
Mm-hmm. So, where do you put it?
I gave it a B.
You give it a B?
I gave it a B.
I'm giving it an A.
Ooh.
I think it's possibly the best removal in the set.
Yeah, I could see that.
Burn from Within is another red removal spell. X and a red for a rare. Burn from Within deals X damage to target creature or player. If a creature is dealt damage this way, it loses indestructible until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead.
Yeah.
That is also really good removal.
Yeah.
This is also, this and the last one are also 2 of the only removable spells that will kill big things.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And this one has that added little bonus of being able to get through the indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only thing, I think the only thing in the whole set that damage-wise is going to be able to... Oh, no, because it's indestructible. Oh, no, right. That's what I was trying to say. God, I'm tired.
Get past Avacyn?
No, I was going to say get past that stupid land. That 7/9 indestructible land.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got 10 mana...
If you've got 10 mana...
You can finally take it out.
Yeah. It's a 9/7.
9/7.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you have flyers, you can block it, do the rest of the damage with this, remove the indestructible, take it down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's up with the cats. There must be a storm coming.
That would stand to reason.
Yeah.
Devil's Playground.
We didn't grade it.
Oh, we didn't?
We did not grade it.
We didn't grade it?
No.
I'm going to give it an A-, just slightly below the other one.
I gave it a B+, slightly above, but I think they're both, for me, on the same level.
Okay, all right.
I think they're both pretty good.
Devil's Playground. Here's the other, the card I was talking about. So it's not likely to get that and the Westvale, what was it? You know, the land.
Yeah.
Since this is a rare. I thought it was an uncommon. 4 red for a rare. Put 4 1/1 red devil creature tokens onto the battlefield. They have, when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So these devils are pretty sweet.
I still think that for your money, I think the uncommon one is better overall. Yeah. You're only getting 4 for 6
Okay.
at sorcery speed.
The and other for 4 you get 2?
At instant speed.
At instant speed. Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough.
But I still think this is good, especially in this format, when you're going to want those dudes around.
Yeah, as we've already seen, thanks to Loading Ready Run, 4 of these devils is a lot.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to not at least get a Lava Axe out of this card. Mm-hmm. But I guess no, there's not really many ways around it. You'd have to use the what was it? The white exile target creature and all creatures with the same name, and that's a rare.
Yeah.
So I like this. It allows you to attack or block pretty much indiscriminately with these little devils. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's also nice to see a red token that's not a goblin. As much as I like goblins, these...
I'm finding the devils are just as cute, so I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I give it a C+.
You give it a C+?
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving it a B-, so...
Close enough.
Maybe I'll just give it a straight-up B. I think this would pull me in. Mm-hmm. If I got this second pick, I would have to wonder what was in the pack that they didn't take.
That's true.
Yeah. On to green. Seasons Past for green for a mythic. Return any number of cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons Past on the bottom of its owner's library. So this is like Anti-Delirium.
Yeah.
Return any number of cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand.
It's really weird, right? It's kind of interesting, though.
So you could get... How many cards are you likely to get off of this? 3? Let's say 3.
You're sitting at turn 6, probably.
6 or 7, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So probably 3? 2 or 3?
Let's say you get 3 cards off of this. So it's a draw 3. 3 that you've already cast.
And you obviously want.
And then you put this on the bottom of your library, which means you could shuffle and draw it again, maybe. I don't know. It's fine. It's decent. I'll call it a B.
I gave it a C.
Okay. Traverse the Ulvenwald. Green for a rare. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. If you have Delirium, you may search your library for a creature or land.
So, early game, it lets you get a land. Later game, it lets you draw your bomb. Your bomby creature.
If you have it in your opening hand, it gets a sorcery into your graveyard, I suppose. Mm-hmm. It does not ramp you.
No, but it gets you your second color if you need it.
That's true.
So that's not for nothing.
I still don't think it's really doing enough.
No, I gave it a C minus, but I can see the potential in a specific kind of deck.
Yeah.
If you worked around it, you could put it to use, but I don't think it's something you're going to do very often.
I give it a D plus.
Close enough.
I just think I'm not going to play it, but
fair enough.
Maybe
it just
I'm
requires
wrong.
too much work.
Yeah.
I get you. I'd rather have a creature.
It's not even that it requires work. It's that it doesn't do enough for the cost of a card.
I'd rather have a creature.
Yeah. I'd rather have a 2/2. Okay, so I think we're going to go on to the enchantments.
Enchantments? Not the instance?
You want to do the instance?
Yes,
do the instance.
because you're getting me all confused.
Alright, we'll do the instance.
Normally I go instant sorcery, enchantments, artifacts, and you've just confused the heck out of me.
Alright, on to the instance. Eerie Interlude is 2 and a white for a rare instant. Exile any number of target creatures you control, then return those creatures to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
So it's a mass blink.
It's Mass Blink. For 3 mana.
Which is pretty cheap.
So I don't really know what it's trying to do.
Well, I think you build around it. I think you have a bunch of ETB effects, which could work. Or it's a good combat trick. You can block and then blink before damage is dealt.
So that's almost like situational fog for 3 mana.
Or indestructible for 3. No, situational fog because they're not getting the damage step either. Yeah, I think it's a cute little card trick, a combat trick. I think it works really well if you also have things that, and there's a bunch in white that we've seen. When this angel, when this blah blah blah, when this whatever enters the battlefield.
Okay.
And I don't think it's asking a lot or too much.
I'm trying to remember what Cloud Shift cost. I think it was either 1 or 2.
I don't know what Cloud Shift is.
It just blinked one of your things.
One of your things.
One of your things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If I had a lot of ETB abilities, I might run this, but I'm just going to call it a D.
And I called it a C+.
Really?
Mm.
Okay. I don't ever see running it.
No? Oh, I'm totally going to run the heck out of it.
Okay. Alright, well, I guess we'll see. Confirm Suspicions. 3 blue for an instant at rare. Counter target spell. Investigate 3 times. 5 mana counter spells are goofy. They don't really have a place. You don't want to spend 5 mana countering a spell.
I gave it a D. I probably, personally, I think it warrants a D. Personally, it's an F because I will never play it.
I'm giving it a D-. I don't put any weight on investigating. It's a 5 mana counter spell. I'm not going to play it.
Fair enough.
Engulf the Shore. 3 and a blue for a rare. Return to their owner's hands all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. This is interesting. It's 4 mana, so if you cast it on curve, you're going to probably return all creatures to their owner's hands, which gives you some time. So this is a good sort of tempo play in a control deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be very useful against your opponent's bombs, especially since I don't think you're going to be running a monocolored deck.
Probably not.
So at most you're going to hit maybe 4 toughness,
Mm-hmm.
which does hit some of the bombs, but not a lot. So what do you think?
It has nice art. No, seriously. As you said, if you're casting it on turn 4, you have to have 4 lands.
4 islands.
Okay, islands. Fair enough. So you're not going to be casting.
No, you can cast it, but if you only have one island, you're only going to
No,
return
exactly.
one
I'm just trying to do
creatures.
the math and trying to see where it's going to sit you at, turn 6.
Because I think it is going to be a good, solid tempo play, I'm going to give it a B.
Okay.
But I'm not going to give it any higher than that because it can't get rid of bombs.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
In fact, I'm going to give it a B- because of that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Epiphany at the Drown Yard. X and a blue. For a rare, reveal the top X+1 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of those piles. Put that pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. This is going to be an auto-include in every blue commander deck ever.
Yeah.
It's not Fact or Fiction, it's the other one, right?
It's the red-blue one.
Steam Vents?
Vents.
Steam Augury?
Augury. Yes, Steam Augury.
But it scales.
Yeah.
So for 4 mana, you get 4 cards to separate into 2 piles, which is standard. For 2 mana, you get 2 cards.
Here's the thing that I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I always find these kinds of cards difficult as the person who has to separate. I find it very hard to do. I think it's even going to be more tricky because you have to try to factor in whether the cards that you want them to have they actually want, or you're telling them, fine, these go in your graveyard. It's going to be, you have to judge whether they actually are like, oh sweet, now I can actually cast this out of my graveyard.
Thing that has Delirium or out of the graveyard.
Yeah, it's going to be even trickier. So I think it's going to be even kookier card.
And if you cast it for 6, you get 6 cards. It's just real good. Epiphany at the Drown Yard, I'm going to give it an A-. It doesn't actually win the game, but it could get you a whole lot closer to your game plan.
That sounds reasonable. I gave it a B.
A B?
A B.
To the Slaughter.
We into black now?
Yep. 2 and a black. For a rare. Target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If you have Delirium, they sacrifice a creature and a planeswalker. So that's probably not going to matter in Limited.
Okay. My first comment is, can we take a moment to admire the art? The flavor. It's the lamb to the slaughter.
Yup.
That is fantastic, and it's beautifully drawn.
Can we also talk about how that art is also highly indicative of how this card is going to play out?
Yeah.
Where they're going to sacrifice their worst thing. You are never going to have them sacrifice a planeswalker off of this unless they have no other choice.
Yeah.
That little lamb is their 1/1 that they're going to sack every time.
There's so many little creatures everywhere. I just don't think this has the impact that it could have in another set.
No. It's a good card, but in Limited, it's a D.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Second Harvest. 2 green for a rare. For each token you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. So that goes in the token deck.
Yep.
It's fine.
I gave it a C.
I give it a C. You have to make sure that you've got enough tokens to warrant 4 mana's worth of a card. But if you do, then suddenly you definitely have a little army.
Mm-hmm.
Not much more to say, I guess.
Nope.
Anguished Unmaking. Alright, I said earlier that there was something red was the best removal in this set. I was wrong. Anguished Unmaking, 1 white-black for an instant at rare. Exile target non-land permanent. You lose 3 life. This will kill anything.
Yep.
Anything that's not hexproof. 3 life isn't that much to pay to get rid of, say, Archangel Avacyn, as you can see there. This is going to be the standard removal spell for the next rotation. In Draft and Sealed, this is an A+.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, you can't ask for more.
And that's the instance. So now we'll head on to the sorceries.
We did the sorceries. We're going to head on to the enchantments.
Oh. Okay. Alright, the enchantments start in white with Always Watching. 1 white for a rare. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. This reminds me of Intangible Virtue. You remember Intangible Virtue? Gave all tokens +1/+1. So this will give non-token creatures +1/+1 and vigilance for 1 white. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah?
What was Spear of Heliod? +1/+1?
+1/+1 for everything, and it also had an ability.
Yeah. I think this is just... I mean, it's going in... I would have it in any white deck that I wasn't running tokens in.
Not running, like, a lot of tokens, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really good for the amount of money you're paying.
I think the white-blue mana. I think the white-blue spirit deck is going to make good use of this.
Oh, yeah.
White-red humans is going to make really good use of it. Yeah. B+.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to pull its weight.
Yeah. Forgive me. It's late and I'm tired.
Okay.
Oh.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Here it is.
We're finally here. Triskaidekaphobia is my new playmat, which I'll be ordering as soon as I find a place that sells it. Is 3 and a black for a rare enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose 1. Each player with exactly 13 life loses the game. Then each player gains 1 life. Or each player with exactly 13 life loses the game. Then each player loses 1 life. This is dumb.
It's utterly unplayable in limited. It's an FFF. But damn, it's so good!
If I open it, I am going to pick it, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to lose with it. But...
Don't do it, people. It's an F. But it's so good.
Bad.
It's the flavor. It's the 13 everywhere on the card. By now, everybody's probably already seen this.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It's just a silly card. I'm sure it has a place in some random...
Kooky commander
yeah.
thing? Yeah, maybe. But here's the deal. If you're behind, then this is gaining you 1 life a turn, and it's not doing anything to kill your opponent. If you're ahead, then you're not going to gain your opponent life so that this will kill them, and you're probably not going to get them down to 13 with it before they kill you or you kill them some other way. It's too finicky to bother about. And let's say that you're behind and they're at 15 or 18. You're not going to damage yourself to try to get them to 13 unless you think that will actually win you the game. But that's going to be a very rare opportunity. So this is absolutely useless. This is an F.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's super fun. Harness the Storm. 2 and a red for a rare. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast target card with the same name as that spell from your graveyard. And it says you still have to pay the costs. So this requires you to have multiple instances of the same instant or sorcery that are playable, and that you have been able to draft.
I gave this a D.
Okay.
If you happen to luck into, 4 copies of a really good instant or sorcery, sure, throw it in, see how it goes. But personally, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
So
Not
I think
in limited.
You'd have to play around this, or
Absolutely.
you'd have to build around this. And I think you could probably try to build around this. but I don't think it's going to pay off the way you want it to. So
No.
I gave this an F.
Fair enough.
I do think it's a standard constructed deck.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cryptolith Rite. 1 and a green for a rare enchantment. Creatures you control have tap. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is the build around that I'm most interested in. I would love to get this and then take those big expensive finishers and make a modern or cube style ramp deck using this. I think that could be possible, but it would take some doing. It would take some actual setting up. I give this a B+.
I gave it a C.
You and your C's.
Well, here's the thing. It's 2 mana, right?
Uh-huh.
It allows you to tap your creatures, so
Mm-hmm.
there is some sort of small amount of possible ramping going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. That's good. It allows you, if you don't get your red or your white, it could allow you to splash, because say you get past a bomb in pack 2, but you're solidly in 2 colors, and you're like, oh, it's not double colored, I just need to splash 1. This will do this nicely for you. But I don't think, like you, I think you could do some crazy stuff with it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's going to take a lot of luck and a lot of work.
Okay.
So for me, I would consider running one, but it's just kind of, okay, sure.
All right. On to the multicolored Fevered Visions. 1 blue-red for an enchantment at rare. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, Fevered Visions deals 2 damage to him or her. So there's a lot to unpack here. At first I didn't think this card was very good, but then I started to think about it and I've changed my mind. At the beginning of each player's end step, usually these things happen on your upkeep,
Yeah.
so your opponent gets first crack at it,
Which means you pay for it.
and then they get to use it right away.
Yeah.
What happens when you deal with the end step is not only do you get the first card, but unless the card your opponent draws is an instant, they have to wait 2 whole turns to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually sets you ahead an entire turn over the entire 2 turns over the usual Howling Mind effects.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I think it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that you're going to get to damage your opponent with it that often. Although if you play it on turn 3, you may very well.
But I think it's going to be gravy when you do.
Yeah.
I think the other part of it is more important.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty good.
I originally had this at a D because I
As did
misread
I.
it. But now I'm going... I don't know. Gets you an extra card every turn. Your opponent gets the card. You get the card first. I'm just going to call it a B.
I'm going to call it a C+.
Okay. All right. On to Invocation of Saint Traft. Everybody knows the Geist of Saint Traft from the original Innistrad. It's the bane of Commander. It's
the bane of my existence.
This is the Invocation. 1 white-blue enchantment aura at rare. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Exile that token at end of combat.
This is an enchantment that I want.
Okay.
I especially want to put it on my flyer.
Okay.
I like how it echoes the original card.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I think is the most important part of it. Whenever this creature attacks,
Mm-hmm.
it's not does damage to a player. It's not anything. All it has to do is turn sideways and attack. And you get the 4/4 alongside for the ride.
And you
Till
get
end
it
of turn.
right now beating in.
Yep.
You do have to exile that token, so it's not like it stays around.
Nope, but you're flying in with an extra 4/4 flyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just pretty darn sweet.
That being said, this has all of the drawbacks of a regular enchantment aura.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not anywhere near bomb quality.
No, but it also has the added bonus of the fact that there are times you want enchantments in your graveyard, so it's not as big a downside as it once was.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you put it?
I gave it a B.
You give it a B?
I gave it a B.
I give it a C+.
Close enough.
All right. On to the artifacts. Artifacts are just colorless enchantments after all. That's not true at all. Brain in a Jar. 2 for a rare artifact. Pay 1, tap it. Pay 1 and tap it to put a charge counter on Brain in the Jar. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Brain in the Jar from your hand without paying its mana cost. So what do you think of that ability?
Sure.
So that right there, first time you use it, you can play a 1-drop without paying its mana cost. So you're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Second time you use it, you're paying 1 for a 2-drop instant or sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
This also does make your sorceries instant speed.
Fair enough.
So the third time you tap it and pay 1, you cast a 3-drop. It's just very slow.
Yes, agreed.
Now the other ability, 3, tap, remove X charge counters from Brain in the Jar, scry X. So this is doing a couple of things. It's allowing you to scry, but it's also allowing you to control the amount of charge counters that are on it. Let's say you get up to 4 charge counters and you know you don't have any 4-drop instants or sorceries. You can dial it back to 2.
Mm-hmm.
The home for this card is not limited.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's just too slow.
Yeah.
When there's that much text on the card, I read the first 5 lines and then my brain starts going blah, 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 blah.
So
it's just...
I think this is an F in limited, but it's another one that I see finding its way into a bunch of Commander decks.
Oh, Commander for sure. Something is slow or slower.
I'm going to put it in my who's the blue-white guy from the last block? Noyandar. I'm going to put it in my Noyandar deck for sure.
It seems good.
Yeah. But it's an F in limited.
Agreed.
Corrupted Graphstone. 2 for an artifact, rare. Corrupted Graphstone enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it and choose a color of a card in your graveyard. Add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. So you can play it on turn 2 instead of playing it on turn 3 the way you normally play Mana Rocks. But you can't use it that turn. Next turn, it ramps you all the way up to 4 if you drop a land. But you have to have something in your graveyard already.
Yeah. I don't really like it.
I think this is a D+. I think its home is not limited either. I just don't know where its home is exactly.
Yeah, I'm not that crazy about it either.
Where would you put it?
I put it at D-.
Okay.
Bordering on an F.
Okay.
I'd just rather play a land.
Oh,
and
okay.
have another creature.
All right. Slayer's Plate. 3 mana for artifact equipment at rare. Equipped creature gets +4/+2. Whenever equipped creature dies, if it is a human, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. And it equips for 3. So what do we think of that?
It's expensive.
It is. It's not that expensive for what it does,
No,
but
I
it
know.
is just expensive. You get blown out with that sort of mana cost and equip cost. Um,
I still know that I'm going to get dinged a lot with this guy.
in pack 2 or pack 3, if I know I'm playing the humans deck, I'll take it, but I'm not going to take this early.
No.
I might pick it up on the wheel if it wheels. I put it at a D+, but in the human deck, it's quite a bit better than that.
Agreed.
Last artifact is Tamio's Journal. It's a 5-drop artifact, legendary artifact at rare. Ah, legendary at rare, not mythic. Interesting. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. So you get a clue token every turn. Tap, sacrifice 3 clue tokens, search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So you pay 5 for it, so you get on turn 5. And then 3 turns later, you get to tutor a card.
So you get to grab your bomb to finish the game.
So on turn 8, you'll have your bomb.
It seems really slow.
Seems really slow. I mean, if you have other ways of getting clue tokens, then maybe it's not that slow, but on its own, I again put this at a D-, or a D+, rather. I think it definitely has a place. It could definitely do some work, but on its own, it just doesn't do enough. So D+. All right. Are we ready to go on to, what do you want to do, Planeswalkers or lands?
Planeswalkers.
All right, let's hit the Planeswalkers. Our first Planeswalker is Jace, another Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. Come on, guys.
I'm so sick of his face.
He's. I don't have anything against Jace, but there are other blue Planeswalkers out there.
I'm just sick of him being the only blue Planeswalker we ever see. I mean, the cards are great, don't get me wrong. And I do understand for the lore, for the story they're trying to tell. It makes sense.
I don't see why Jace has to be the front man. There are, sure, a lot of people who like Jace, but there are a lot of people who don't like Jace, too. Let's have another blue Planeswalker. Tamio. Let's have Tamio back.
Sure.
Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. 3 blue for a mythic Planeswalker Jace. He comes down with 5 loyalty. You can then +1 him to scry 1, then draw a card. Seems good. You can -2 him to return target creature to its owner's hand. So bounce something. You can -8 him to get an emblem with whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, counter that spell.
So he's pretty much good old solid Jace.
Yep. Alright, so we've got 5 mana, 5 loyalty, then tick up. So turn 8, you could, if nothing has gotten in the way, get the emblem.
I don't think you want the emblem for this, though. I think it's the other stuff that's even better.
Yeah, here's how I see him running. Drop him, -2, +1. -2, +1, +1, -2. +1, +1, -2. For as long as that holds out. He's fine. He's not terribly exciting. He doesn't defend himself terribly well. All he does is bounce a creature. So I only have him at a B+, which for a Planeswalker is a fairly low rating.
Yeah, I gave him a B+ as well.
Yeah?
I think he's perfectly solid. He's going to probably be very expensive because everybody's going to want him in all of their blue decks.
I don't know about that. I don't think he's as pivotal as the Jace that we've
when
had
does
before.
when does he rotate out? Doesn't he rotate out next?
No, Origins doesn't rotate out until after Innistrad block, when we're into the next block.
Okay, fair enough.
So this is going, B+.
Goodbye, Jace.
Goodbye, Jace. Arlen Cord. I really think she's interesting. 2 red-green for a Planeswalker Arlen at Mythic. She gets 3 loyalty. 4 mana, 3 loyalty Planeswalker. She's got a +1 and a 0. She's got 2 abilities. Until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance and haste. So her +1 does defend herself in a way, If you have a creature, you can give it vigilance. So it'll get in for damage and it'll still be around to block. Or, if you don't have a creature, you can 0 her and make a creature. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield, and then transform her.
Transformer.
She transforms into Arlen, Embraced by the Moon. Arlen, Embraced by the Moon has 3 abilities, which, by the way, if you have activated the 0 ability on Arlen Cord and transformed her, you do not get to activate an ability of Arlen, Embraced by the Moon. It's considered the same permanent. It doesn't leave the battlefield, has the same loyalty counters on it. It has already been activated, so you don't get to activate it again. But the next turn, you can +1 her to give creatures you control +1/+1 and trample until end of turn.
Oh, that's good.
You can -1 her to have her deal 3 damage to target creature or player, and then transform her back, which also seems pretty good. Or you can -6 her to get an emblem with creatures you control gain haste and have tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player.
Ooh.
So that seems pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Very interesting.
5 abilities. There's a lot of versatility there. She's got a good ability to kill creatures. Even if you 0'd her and then -1'd her 3 times, that would be well worth the price of this Planeswalker. So I gave her an A-.
Yeah, she's definitely up there. She's really cool.
I think she does a lot.
And I think she's well situated in the deck that you're going to build when you open her. So, yeah, I like her a lot.
Next up, we have Nahiri the Harbinger. 2 red-white for Planeswalker Nahiri at Mythic. She's got 4 loyalty for 4 mana. She's got a +2. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card, so you get to rummage.
Cool.
You can just +2 her without discarding. It says you may. So if you just want to tick up her loyalty, it's not like you have to discard your hand. She's got a -2. Exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. So that's fine, except that something will have had to attack or used an ability before she can get rid of it. And then her -8 is search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. For -8, that seems terrible. That just seems kind of mediocre. I mean, it is a +2 ability, so you only have to tick her up twice before you could use it. But that just doesn't seem worthwhile. I really don't like Nahiri.
I don't either, and it makes me sad because I like her art.
I think she's a C.
Yeah.
I think she's just...
Not that good.
Because she's a Planeswalker, she's got the Planeswalker ability of making your opponent freak out. So she's as good as a 2/2 for 2. But...
Not much.
Not any better. Sad. Alright, our last Planeswalker is Sorin, Grim Nemesis.
Tell me about Sorin.
4 white, black. For a 6 loyalty Planeswalker, Sorin at Mythic. The mana cost here reminds me of a certain other 6-drop Planeswalker that ruled Standard when Theros was legal. +1. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to its converted mana cost.
Oh.
Right? So, let's see. Reveal a land. Put it into your hand. Big whoop. Reveal a 6-drop. Put it into your hand. Deal 6 to your opponent. Nice. -X. Sorin, Grim Nemesis, deals X damage to target creature or Planeswalker, and you gain X life.
Oh, dear goodness.
Goodbye, Nahiri, at 4. Now, in limited, if you're destroying an opponent's planeswalker, you're pretty much in control of that game. -9. Put a number of 1/1 black Vampire Knight creature tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield equal to the highest life total among all players. So if you have +1 Sorin 3 times at that point, you're probably going to be the one with the highest life total because your opponent's going to be bleeding. But that kind of seems like almost a win more ability. I'm just going to +1 him to forever.
Yeah.
Unless my my opponent drops a creature that I really need to kill. Sorin is great. He gives you card advantage. He protects himself well. He has an ultimate which isn't entirely out of reach, but will almost immediately win you the game. I gave Sorin an A+.
He's absolutely an A+ as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
I want to open him.
And not for his art, unfortunately. His art is kind of...
not as good as I would have.
Not great, but... yep.
His abilities are...
That's it for the Planeswalkers. We've just got a couple of lands, and then we're done. Our first land is Drownyard Temple. It is a rare land. You can tap it to add colorless to your mana pool. Or you can pay 3 to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. What the heck is this even doing here?
You need to get you discard a land into the graveyard for Delirium, and you can pay 3 to get it back.
I don't know. This...
I'm just trying to figure out what the heck they're thinking.
I think this is probably here for the next set. If there's any colorless shenanigans in the next set, this might go up.
Yeah, because there's nothing colorless at all.
No, it's just sort of... Or maybe it's here for some other format. But in limited, it's not an F. It's not like you can't play it, but it's certainly a D-. If I was lucky enough to open the Gitarog monster, I'd take this if I opened it, because that could fuel that whole thing.
Absolutely.
But other than that, it's not any good. And our last land is actually 5 lands. We've got Port Town, Choked Estuary, Foreboding Ruins, Game Trail, and Fortified Village. And these are the rare dual lands for this set. People have been calling them show lands or shadow lands, or I don't remember what else somebody called them that I really like. Clue lands, I think. They tap for allied pair coloration, and they enter the battlefield tapped unless you reveal one of their colored of basics from your hand.
So it's kind of the inverse of the other lands that
Enter the battlefield tapped unless
you already have one on the battlefield. So that's kind of interesting.
I like these a lot. That's why they're being called show lands or shadow lands.
The art's gorgeous. Again, just beautiful.
Yep. And I like these.
I do too. I think they're quite good.
I think they're not amazing, but they're certainly fine.
They're going to be completely serviceable.
They're going to be a C+ or a B or however you want to rate your lands. You can't really rate lands like these against creatures or other damaging effects.
I'm going to be hoping to pick up one of these if I'm in those 2 colors.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll definitely run one.
It's not like you want to first pick one of these because you don't know what colors you're going to be in. But if you're in those colors and one of these lands come around, scoop it up.
For sure.
All right. So that is our rare set review for Shadows over Innistrad. Now that we've seen the whole set, what do you think?
I'm really excited to play it.
I'm super excited to play it.
I've never been in a set that has been so tribally driven before. So that's kind of new for me, and it's really archetype thick. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to work, and there's some new mechanics that are interesting. I didn't get to play with Madness back in the day, and the art, so I'm pretty excited.
I find it really interesting that there's a mix of, there are tribal themes, and then there are decks that are based specifically on mechanics and not tribes. So I'm going to enjoy going into that in some depth.
What I think I'm most excited about is that there seems to be, red seems really strong. But a good chunk of decks are going to have red in them.
Yeah.
But I think every color is playable for a change.
So far, that's how it looks. We'll see how it pans out, but I think each of the colors is doing what they usually do, which is nice. Black seems to want to be just black. Red seems very aggressive. Blue seems very board control. Not long game control, but like tempo control. White has a lot of utility with other colors. Like it seems to, like it'll spread out into any other color really nicely. And green is doing its own mid-range thing. So
stump the creatures.
I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the set. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review, you can please like these videos. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube, and you can also check us out on the web at cardadvantagemtg.blogspot.ca.
You can also find us on Facebook at cardadvantagemtg.
Or on Twitter at mtg_ca. Thanks so much for watching. Please enjoy your pre-releases, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching.